Yeah,
man.
man.
Man, what's on the agenda, man? What's been percolating?
Man, other than the day to day, man, just getting through this last this last semester, man. Tomorrow's the last day, so got to turn in a PowerPoint for candidacy, man. So
Okay.
that's what's happening, man.
Lord bless and give you strength on that, my dude.
Man, I receive it. I receive it
Amen.
because I need it.
By God's grace. By
Yes,
God's
sir.
grace, man. By God's
What
grace.
about you, man? What's popping on your end?
Man, same old, same old. Just you know me, man. I live a detached life, bro. So, you know, the world's spinning by at a million miles a minute. I don't know what's going on out there. It's like there's a storm outside. I grew up in the Caribbean, man, and so when the hurricane come, you just stay inside. And every now and again you peek out. You like, it gone? Nah, okay, back in the house.
You ride it out.
Yeah. And we still in the midst of the storm, Doc. So I'm in the
Yeah.
house. I'm in the house, man. But you know, just same old deal as always, man. It's more so though, Jat. You know, this this tension of I guess to serve or not to serve. That is the question. And and,
Mm.
and, and what indeed is service, you know. Let me go at it this way, man. I mean, we all believe in folk by now. Most of y'all who listen are believing folk. Even if you don't claim any belief, you still believe in folk. You know, Jonah talked about when Jonah, the Lord sent Jonah to Nineveh, and Jonah was like, "Yo, what for? Have you seen the people of Nineveh? They ain't listening, God. They ain't listening to a damn word you saying." And you get into this space, and it's like, okay, well, how do you minister to a people when you know they ain't listening?
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that's not a critique, right? It's not like a critique, like, oh, my way is better. But no. I mean, I'm really looking at Moses, right? Like, Moses eventually moved outside the camp because he knew the people wasn't listening, man. He knew the people were going to do as much as was absolutely necessary to keep God from striking them dead. But they weren't going to willingly be in relationship with the Lord. And so he knew that. And I really see Moses eventually withdrawing from the camp like, okay, this ain't going to work. You know what I mean? I love y'all. I'm not going to abandon y'all. But at the same time, I understand. Y'all ain't trying to be bothered with what I be talking about. Every time I come around, y'all clam up. Y'all don't want to, you know what I mean? Y'all don't relate to what I'm saying. Y'all think I'm always talking about your ways and blah, 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 blah. And we always end up in an argument when I come around. So you know what? I'm going to set up shop outside the camp. I'll be over there if y'all need me. I love you. I'll be there. But I know it's in our best interest if we just go separate ways, and or even create some space between us. I think about the last parish that I was the pastor of, the priest for. And it was that point where I resigned, at that point where I realized that I was becoming a stumbling block. I was becoming their excuse for why they weren't progressing in their faith. It was easy to say, oh, well, it's because Father Ballantine is doing this or that, or Father Ballantine isn't doing this or that. No one was looking at, okay, well, what are we doing to be faithful to this call? And when I realized that I was simply a stumbling block, I was the excuse for their unrighteousness. I was the excuse for their unfaithfulness. It was more so like, you know what? Well then, shoot, let me remove myself. Not because, not no woe is me. It wasn't no woe is me. It was like, look, I'm really causing y'all a problem. So it might be better if I remove myself. That way you don't have me as your excuse. And if I really am the problem, things will get better for you. And if I'm not the problem, maybe you will see that things have not gotten better and you will decide to do different. You know? Um, but it was realizing it's like, nah, they ain't listening. They ain't even trying to hear, because I'm calling them to change the way they've always done things. And we don't want to do that. And so I span that to the macrocosm. You ask me like where am I? It's like, what's on my mind? It's like, how much are people really listening about changing their way? You know what I mean? And how much do you really probe people to change their way? I mean, I know the prophets just that's what they did was rail against the way of the people till the cows come home. You know, and I guess I'm in that season of that life where you know I'm like, okay, are people, what will it take for people to listen? You know, not to me, because I may not say the right thing, you know what I mean? But for people to listen for that voice in the wilderness, right? It may not be me. There may be something that I say that's worthy of that. There may not be. But I know I'm on the side where I'm like, we ain't there. This ain't it. There's got to be a different way. And I know the majority of people are not yet through with pursuing things in the way that we've always pursued them. The majority of people are so happy, even those who don't like Biden are so happy that we're going to get back to normal. The majority of people forget that Trump wasn't the epitome of the horrendous, heinous experiences of black life in America. Trump didn't even use the worst language about black folks that we've seen in American history. Trump was mild by Woodrow Wilson standards. But I know we are not yet through with giving this white supremacy thing a try. I'm not even saying anti-American. I'm not even saying, oh, we shouldn't be looking at America. I'm saying we are not yet through with giving this white supremacy thing a try. We are not through with believing that there will be some answer from whiteness that will change things. We still are under the impression that along will come the day where white folks will magically have compassion, have love toward, regard black folks as equal in humanity. And I'm just not. I know I'm not there, and I know people aren't really ready to hear that. It's like a group of clergy called me together. Black, you know, not called me together. There was a calling together of a group of black Episcopal clergy. Let me specify that before you be like, oh, why wasn't I on the list? But some black Episcopal clergy, and you know, everybody was like, well, okay, well, where are you, and so on and so forth. And it was like, where am I? I'm like, well, shoot. I'm at the spot where I'm waiting for y'all to come home. I'm waiting for y'all to realize that there ain't no future for you in the Episcopal Church. That no matter how long you try and how much good work you do, you will never be able to live out your blackness in the Episcopal Church. It won't happen. And I've resigned myself to simply, like I've been telling folk, I'm just here waiting with my love and embrace. Like when y'all finally get through beating your head against this brick wall and finally have a headache large enough where you're like, yeah, I can't even open my eyes to look into that whiteness and start going forward. It's just every time I open my eyes and I see that whiteness, my head just explodes from the migraine. then I'll be here to woo woo woo, hug you, love you, rub you on your back, and hopefully have found the way myself so that I can point you to the way. That's a long answer, Doc, but
No, it's real, man. It's real and it's relevant. And it's revelatory as well because what you're talking about is just not happening in the Episcopal Church, right? You know, the SBC, the Southern Baptist Church, has issued a statement
that's right.
regarding to what you're saying, right?
That's right. You
They
did show me
denounce,
that statement.
yeah, they. So in that extent, you know, I'm waiting for my fellow black clergy who are part of the SBC to come home, and a lot of those, my brothers and sisters. I'm saying my brothers, but my brothers and sisters,
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking about the Southern Baptist Church, I might have to just say my brothers because they're steeped in patriarchy, right?
True
Not
that.
only just white supremacy, but also in patriarchy, and we just got to call a spade a spade. But a lot of our fellow clergy brothers and sisters, especially brothers, they're not gonna come home. And so, to your point, the question of who listening, I think for you and I, and anyone who has embraced and accepted, I'm going to use this this word, the struggle, or embodying prophetic witness by raising the consciousness of white supremacy. What we just have to do is just keep preaching, keep proclaiming. I mean, you talked about Moses, you talked about Jonah. I also think about Noah.
Right?
500 years, Doc. 500.
Right? Yo, they
And
was
it's
looking at
the
Noah like he was
same
crazy.
message.
They were looking at Noah like
Yeah.
he was crazy. Like, this fool still talking about this flood, man. Look at him building this boat, man. He a complete idiot. Look at him.
Listen. And when it comes to the heritage of our ancestors, they wrote a song they used to sing, didn't it rain? Children, didn't it rain, oh my Lord, didn't
Right?
it? Didn't it rain? So but what it speaks to is Noah's relentless commitment to his call to proclaim
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna rain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the only people who were saved, Doc, this is the thing. The only people who were saved was his family.
Which means no one
His
else
wife,
listened to him. No one
nobody.
else listened to him.
And so when I think about the call to ministry, or the call, let me be really direct. The call to being a prophetic witness, right? When I think about that, I just have to focus on my assignment, get the word out. And I get the word out through my thoughts, my feelings, and my behavior.
Amen. Yeah. That's real talk. It's like I was listening to one of these Hindu mystics.
Mm.
I can't remember his name, man. Sangju. I can, I look at it and I can see it. I can see it in letters right now, but I ain't never heard it pronounced, so I don't know how it's pronounced. Um, but I was listening to him talk about, you know, our goals, our desires, so on and so forth. He was like, we get so worried about the outcome when
Mm.
when essentially the outcome is up to God. It's like what Paul was saying: one plants, another waters, but the Lord grants the increase. You know, um,
Hmm.
but we get so attached to the outcome, right?
Man,
When ours is just to do the damn thing.
yeah. And I think, that productive outcome, man, that's really rooted in this ideology that we're talking about. It is, man. When you think about, for
100%.
instance, slavery. Slavery was a production driven, system.
Mm-hmm. That's why they
If
justified
you
it.
don't, yeah, exactly.
That's why they were for so long able to commit such a heinous wrong because it was productive. GDP was growing, man,
We was getting the money.
making it rain. And it was like, what's sin?
Man, shoot.
Sin, man. Some rich planter
Here's the
gave some
sin.
money to a pastor, and pastor was like, okay, I can give you some theological notes to justify this. Here you go. Go make that paper, boy.
Yeah, here's the sin. If you baptize the slaves.
Right? If you teach them to read.
Right. So when we look at these denominational outcomes and schisms, the reason why the Baptist church split, the reason why the Methodist church split, the reason why the Presbyterian church split was on the issue of baptism. If you baptize a slave, the question is, do they become human beings? Do they become free? Do they not make our money so that we can pay our tithe?
And the church found a way to reconcile it, Doc.
They
But
split.
but here's the thing, right? Because this is what we were talking about on racial heresy, right? Like,
Hmm.
what do white folks do with heresy? Because y'all realize this crap and y'all say it's wrong, but I ain't never seen y'all repent of it, never heard of it. But that's a conversation for me with white folks. A conversation for me with black folk, and this is why I'm like, yo, when are we gonna start listening, right? It's like we'll know all of this shit, but we will still hold to their way. We will still find something redeeming about their way. It's like we refuse to give up on their way, to abandon their way. We won't even think about trying another way.
You're right.
And so it always leaves me like, well, man, what does it take? Because clearly, Lord, your people ain't beat their head against this wall of the way of whiteness yet. We still want to beat our heads against that wall some more. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna keep doing what I do. I'm gonna keep saying what I say. I'm gonna put it out there. Um, the thing is, Doc, is trying to get to that space where I'm not looking at people not listening, not to me, but people not listening, and yes, to me, but people not listening as an indictment against me, or somehow as a question on whether or not white supremacy really is a danger,
Hmm.
but rather understanding the lack of listening as a byproduct of the reality that black people ain't ready to abandon white supremacy.
You're on to something. You're on to something, man. You know, I think about I think about magicians, you know, or let me go deeper. I think about horror movies,
Hmm.
right? Horror movies are one of the largest grossing genres of movies. For me, I don't watch horror movies because it's so corny, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, you can always predict the end. You can tell the story, but but we're so fascinated with the emotion that these movies bring, like horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
It scares us,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
those type of things. And so I kind of look at
Mm-hmm.
like what you're talking about, or this gaze that we're living in. You know, it plays to our emotions to make us think that we have security, or we've made progress, which we have, to a certain extent we have,
Yeah.
yeah. But 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 when it comes to the endemic of our struggle, our plight, and where we are, to what you're saying, we're so oblivious to it. So it's kind of like the smoke and mirrors type of thing. I hope this making sense.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so, and it's like, man, we just become so, you know, so intimately connected to the smoke and mirrors that
Shaw.
we want to live the dream
Yeah. Right.
and not wake up.
Right. Right. And then, like, when you say that, Doc, got me thinking, right? It's like, we hold on to that so dearly, so tightly.
Yeah.
It's like, man, and we say all the time about how far we have come as a people and how much further we have to go, and even we'll critique about we ain't gone as far as we should have gone, and so on and so forth. But you know what? When you just said that, man, it made me almost jump for joy and give thanks that we have not gone as far as we could have, as we could have gone or should have gone. Because we've been going the wrong damn direction.
Doctor.
Could you imagine if we had actually made some progress down this road of assimilation and washing away black identity and grafting ourselves into whiteness? Could you imagine if we had been more successful? It's like, man, I was thinking about, because now that the Democrats is back in power and the name of the game is to undo the feeling, the sentiments that were aroused by the vitriol of Trump. We ain't gonna undo the white supremacy. We just want to turn the temperature down a little bit. You know what I mean? We want to bring it back to a simmer. It was boiling, but we want to just bring it on a simmer right now so that we can put the lid on it and walk away from the stove, literally. You know. And so the name of the game is get these darkies back in line and give them a piece of the pie. So we getting all of these firsts. You got, you got the first Negro to do this, the first Negro to do that, the first Hispanic person to do this, the first one to do that. You're getting all these firsts, right? These firsts. They're gonna give you all of these firsts. But you ain't had a black man in the White House yet.
Doc, don't say that.
No,
Don't
no,
say
no.
that because they're gonna say you lying. They're
I don't
gonna say
care.
you
I
lying,
don't
Doc.
care. I don't care. I don't do this for them. You ain't had a black man in the White House yet. You ain't had a black man since Reconstruction. You ain't had a
Mm.
black man in the Senate or a black
Mm.
woman in the Senate.
Mm.
And there's been only a handful of black men and women, even with all them 42 Negroes. There's only been a handful that you can count on less than two hands with fingers remaining of black men or women in the House of Representatives since Reconstruction.
Mm.
What we've had is a bunch of people in blackface. But they're going to give you all of these firsts, right? Like, I'm supposed to be happy now that we got the first black Secretary of Defense. So now I can take ownership of our warmongering. I can take ownership of our investiture in the military industrial complex and the neo imperialism that we engage in to bring people under thumb under our rule by having bases all over the world and so on and so forth, subduing people with our might. Because now there's a black man who's the helm of it. Do we really believe that this Negro is going to change the way the military uses black life, abuses black
Mm,
life, the way it mistreats black soldiers?
mm, mm,
Do we
mm,
really believe that even if the Democrats succeed in this bill that they just passed for the defense authorization bill, where they supposedly, you know, talked about changing these Confederate names off of these military bases, do we really believe that once we get this Negro at the helm, that they're going to let this Negro be the one to tell them to strip these Confederate names off their buildings? Obama didn't do it. But we get all of these firsts. And all of these firsts are to reinvest us in white supremacy and white power. They are to
mm,
gain our allegiance for another round, another dose
mm,
of this aspiration to whiteness. That if we are good enough, diligent enough, Massa will approve of us. And now we have a Massa who will give us a job.
mm,
We won't be able to use the witness of our experience as a people in this life, in this world, in order to shape America into being something better than what it is. The wisdom of our experience is no more valued than before. All it is that more of us who look like us will be able to hold position in their establishments so long as they parrot the ideologies of white supremacy that manifested in all the various ways of Western civilization, Western polity, American politics.
mm.
But because they give us this show, this smoke and mirrors, black folk ain't ready yet. We like, oh, let's give it one more chance. Every time, it's like, let's give it one more chance. Well, they gave us a black attorney general. Let's give them one more chance. Let's give them one more chance. They gave us a black president. Let's give them one more chance. They finally given us a black. Let's give them one more chance. They mean right this time. They mean well this time. And I know I'm not going to come between Negroes and their desire to beat their head on a wall. Why am I stopping you from beating your head on a wall if that's what you want to do? But it's like, what will it take for Negroes to stop beating their head on the wall? I don't know. What you feeling? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like that's where
Yeah,
I'm at.
yeah. I think, like I hear you say, man, in terms of these first, man, it's 2020, right?
Just now?
It's
Just now?
right. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Really,
They
really,
say we
really, really,
fought in
really,
every
really.
war. We fought from the American Revolution
We
on.
have.
We fought in every war. They say that. I know we have. I'm saying they have said
Hmm.
that. They have acknowledged that. But you mean just now?
Right. So that's why I'm like, man, at the end of the day, I'm gonna do what my father. I got a big picture in this office of my father and my mom. And so oftentimes whenever I'm perplexed, I just look up to the ancestors and his picture just reminds me, it floods my memory of things that he would tell me. And one of the things that he would say in terms of the vocation, because honestly, not only did God call me to it, but my father gave me the tools and my mom to serve in this vocation. One of the things he used to tell me to do is every chance you get, preach. So, man, I'm gonna tell you this, bro, because if we continue as servants to bust our heads on why they're not hearing, why they want to keep shooting themselves up, man, we gonna kill ourselves.
Right.
Listen, and the reason why I say it like that because I feel you, bro. You know, um, I may not be in the same trenches, but the trenches are the trenches,
Right.
and we fighting the same war. So, we in the trenches.
Right.
So with that being said, man, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna, take my passion and perseverance from Noah. Keep preaching.
Amen. Amen. Oh yeah, that's all. That is all we can do, and that is all we need to do. You know, um, by God's grace and with therapy's help, I come to understand that I don't need to make people hear. You know what I mean? It's not my job to make people hear. It's just lamentable that we don't.
Right, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's heartbreaking that we don't.
Yeah.
And every now and again there's a little too much heartbreak. You know what I mean? It's like you need a you
Too
need a,
much is an understatement.
you need a reprieve. Well, I say that because man, heartbreak is a beautiful thing too. You know,
808s and heartbreak, huh?
heartbreak. You can't have heartbreak if you don't know love.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart can't break if you don't love.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality of heartbreak is actually a beautiful thing. I give thanks that my heart still breaks for the people, for my people, for our people, for all people.
Mm.
But at times it's like, whew, I just need a little break from all the heartache right now, Lord. I just
Man, you ain't lying.
and like, Lord, I give thanks that my heart breaks for them because at least I know I ain't turned my back on them yet. But Lord, I just need a little break from the heartache for a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. I need my heart to sing for a little bit, just a little bit. And so, I get that it's not my duty to make people hear. Which also frees me from worrying about how I say stuff, right? I say stuff how I'm led to say stuff, understanding that sometimes it may be wrong, sometimes it may be right, but too abrasive. I said it how it came out, and hopefully, if you whoever you are that hear it really care, you'll make efforts to make to call me on it, and I'll make efforts to make amends. Because that's relationship. So it frees me from worrying about how I say, you know what I mean, what I say. I ain't worried about that. I can't say I'm worried about anything really. But what I can say is, it's a lot of it's a man. I think about Jesus standing on the mountain watching Jerusalem, right? Standing on the hill looking at Jerusalem. And oh, how I wish like a mother hen I could gather you up under my wings. Like that lament when you look at the people and you see so much potential, you see so much hope, so much promise, but just such a I don't know. I think about my son, and this gets personal. You know what I mean? I think about my son, and it's like, man, my heart breaks that you don't see the love that I have for you. That you actually think and believe that there could be a love greater out there in the world. And so it's more like that lament. Like you see the people, and it's like, man, what I want for you. But I can't compete with what you want for yourself. And so long as what you want for yourself, so long as you envision what you want for yourself as being better than what I want for you, what the
Mm.
Lord wants for you, what people of true goodwill want for you, you gon' you gonna hold to what you want for yourself. And I think that's the piece that the grace that we don't give to ourselves as black people, right?
Mm.
The grace that says, you know what? Like, if I want to, if black, let's take it back to slavery days, right? Back to the plantation, and I'm on the plantation, and I'm that Negro that wants to be free. And somebody else, I ain't gonna put that on you, but somebody else is that Negro that wants to stay,
Put it on me.
and you that Negro that want to stay on the plantation. And we boys, I love you. You know what I mean? And I want to be free. I want to run. And I'm talking to you about running, and you like, nah, doc, I'm here. I'm good. I'm, you know, old master just died. New master, he was always nice. You know what I mean? It's gonna be better. I can't be mad at you for wanting to stay.
Or you can be. It's your choice.
I don't even say I could be mad at you, cause me being mad at you is like I'm supposed to have some sort of sway over you. I could be heartbroken. I could be disappointed. It could hurt.
I don't agree.
That's
Let
cool.
me tell you why I don't agree
Yeah,
with that. Is because it still shows emotion, and it still and
yeah.
emotion to me, the purpose of it is it shows your heart.
Mm-hmm.
People handle heartbreak differently. I would be enraged. I would be immensely frustrated. You know, and and I have that right because I too share the same plight as you. So that's why I say that.
Word. No, I get the emotive piece. You know what I mean? I just know for me, I
Yeah,
guess in my own struggles with my rage, right? I guess for me,
I
I'm
got
like
you.
I'm like I wouldn't I would want to give you grace to do that if you want. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
this is your personal growth.
Yeah, yeah. I would want to give. I'm at the space where I would want to give you grace to do that. And yes, because I love you, share bittersweet memories. You know, as I go my way and allow you to go yours,
Mm, mm,
and
mm.
pray to
I
God that
get you.
we meet at the promised land.
I get you.
You know, and I don't.
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves that because it is always life and death, right? It is always and so it always feels like life and death, right? And so if you got that Negro that don't agree with getting free, it's like, man, to hell with that Negro. You know what I mean? Um, and the dynamics, the crucible of white supremacy have been such where you almost had to be that way because that Negro would get you killed.
Man, listen. That's why I'm saying it because so here's the other thing to this, bro, is that if you're going to be a prophetic witness, if you're going to be if you're going to have that claim, you have to be situational. I think the reason why I say that is because, man, this white supremacy is heavy. Doc, I haven't read the book Just Mercy yet,
Mm-hmm.
but I did see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And man, just sitting in the movie, I cried my eyes out. And I went to the matinee. So I was sitting in the corner by myself and I cried because the reason why this man, played by Jamie Foxx, gets on death row is because he had an affair with a white woman.
That's all it took.
Come on, man. That,
That's
you
all
know,
it took.
and God bless her. I thank God for our ancestors, Ida B. Wells Barnett. But she chronicled those lynchings, and that was one of the main reasons why black men were being lynched.
And even with that, and again, I got friends who
Right.
who, who are in interracial relationships, but even with that, right?
Hmm.
We still we still got that thing for them.
We still got the thing. We
and
still
and,
got the
and,
thing.
and, and and not saying anything against them, right? It doesn't have to be
Right.
against a white woman in specific. It could
Right.
be
Right. 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 Right.
because we've had many occasions like Emmett Till where that woman played part and lied about some shit, but it also could be genuine where that woman loves you. But she is powerless
Yeah,
in the
man.
face of white male patriarchy to save your ass.
Yep. And she will be forced to choose. To your point, right? And that's the point that I'm bringing in terms of white supremacy and its stronghold
But we still willing
on
to
our
beat our head against
community.
that wall. We
Right.
still willing to beat our heads against that wall. Let's keep trying.
Right.
It's gonna work this time. It's gonna work this time.
Yep. Some of us have a false sense of hope for this white supremacy, and that's why a lot of clergy are not going to leave quite, quite evangelistic institutions. You know, that's why, you know, people like you and I, even in my enraged space, I choose to use that emotion to show grace because that will enable me to separate from those who are just beating their heads against the wall.
That's that's the thing, Doc. That's the thing, right? And it's like it's painful, right? That's the piece. It's painful to watch those that you love beat their head against a wall. It's
Jonah,
painful.
go ahead.
It's painful as a parent, but you got to give your child that space to fail, right? In order for them to learn, in order for them to grow, you got to give them that space to fail. But it is painful as a parent to sit back and watch your child doing something that you know is going to fail, either because you just know it ain't going to work, or because you've seen the child do that thing the exact same way every single time, and every single time the same thing has happened. And they still haven't learned that it ain't going to work out well if they do things that way. Because that's all you want of your children. You want them to make mistakes but learn. You know what I mean? When Ray Dalio talks about principles, right? And he talks about his principles for life and success. The whole cycle is iterative. He talks about how you go after something, you trip up, you stumble, you fall, you examine how you fell, you learn from it, and so the next time you come up against that thing, you can jump over that obstacle. But if you keep falling over that obstacle, falling over that obstacle, falling over that obstacle, you know, it's hard. It is hard. And this is where you learn about the depth of the love of God, right? It is hard to stay uninvolved.
Yeah,
It is hard to not step in
yeah,
and intervene.
yeah.
You know, and it's like
It's not human.
watching our people go the same route.
Yeah,
I'm like, this isn't going to end well. It's not good. 4 years from now, we're going to be dissatisfied. 8 years from now, we're going to be pissed. It's not going well.
Yeah.
But it's like, learning to find the grace
Hmm.
to be okay with it not going well.
Now you talking. Now you talking. Now you talking our plight now. Now you talking our heritage. So, it's funny that you mentioned that example of being a parent. So, man, I'm gonna share this with you, man. And we've talked about it before, but this is my lament. I have accepted, and I say this, and I'm just being honest. I say this with a great deal of shame, but I am being honest. I really have a major respect, reverence, and appreciation for parents. And I want to be specific. All parents for sure, but black mothers and fathers, those who were extremely active in the lives of their children, because of the systemic tension of white supremacy. I choose not to be a father because my heart grieves as a pastor. My heart grieves as a son. My heart grieves as a black man living in these, what Dr. Maya Angelou calls, these yet to be United States of America. And so, because I am, because I have, in some sense, this level of self actualization, I choose, because if I had a son or a daughter who looks like me, acts like me, walks like me, talks like me, or chooses to bang his head against the white supremacist wall, I'm going to be enraged. And I'm just being honest. So
Hey,
it's
it's a
probably best for
cycle.
me.
And look,
Exactly, right?
it's a cycle, because I went through it, man, and I went through it for a time as a single dad, as a single black dad.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like that you know that's the quintessential example, right? That is it, right? Like, you raising a black boy, and you know what's out here for black boys, and to be able to give your child, and this is something I failed to do, part of the reason my son went on his prodigal sojourn early, to give your child grace that allows them to bang their head against that white supremacist wall. To give your child the grace where you don't have to talk with them about police, and you allow them to listen to their white friends and say, oh no, we can be indignant with the police if we want to, because they should be able to. But the reality of our experience doesn't let us give our children that grace. And so I tell my son, when we used to live in Bay Hill, man, like, where they do the Arnold Palmer Invitational, like, son, all these other kids running in and out of the golf tournament, don't you follow them kids, because these police ain't gonna believe that you live here. But to give your child the grace where, just like every other kid runs in and out and try to sneak up to Tiger Woods or something, like, he gets to do that.
Hmm.
And then you bring that from the micro familial level to that macro black people level. Like, give us the grace to continue marching. That's what you want to do? Okay. You ain't gonna get nothing from it, but okay. This ain't gonna work out the way you think it's going to work, but that's what you feel you need to do. Okay. Like, and then when they finish doing that, okay, now how you feel? What did you learn? What did you gain? Let's assess this. You know, and maybe that's the thing, rather than simply telling our people, no, 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 it's not the right way. Okay, now that you finished marching and you had your marching bang out there, and you dun 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 dun, we want justice, dun 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 dun, Black Lives Matter, dun 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 dun, and you party and bullshit yourself to oblivion. Now that you've ponied up and voted out the one white man to put in the other white man. Okay, great, great, great. Okay, now let's powwow. Come back. How did that work? Let's assess. You know, um, and maybe it's in allowing us, our people, to have to be in that space and to hopefully reflect from that space. Because that's one thing we don't do. We damn sure don't reflect on um, the efficacy of our head banging.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't seen the postmortem yet on any of our efforts to fight justice. C.T. Vivian tried to give a postmortem on the civil rights movement in Black Power and the American Myth. Y'all could check out that book by the late great C.T. Vivian, Black Power and the American Myth.
Yeah.
Which that's what he said it was, his postmortem of the civil rights movement. Very few of us have read it. And even those of us who have read it haven't changed the way that we conduct ourselves in response to it. But beyond C.T. Vivian's work, I can't think of another postmortem that we've done on anything. I know Rayford Logan critiqued Reconstruction, but that was critiquing whiteness, really. That was critiquing the entirety of the narrative. C.T. Vivian was more so critiquing our approach to pursuing justice.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of those scholars only critique the narrative. We don't really do the courageous work of introspection. This is why I think, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is why I think, for us, we've been really talking about prophetic witness, but specifically Black prophetic preaching. I think for us in our community, and this is just me giving my kind of my opinion, is that the role of pastors are going to have to bring those critiques or those things to the forefront. You know,
Mm-hmm.
hence the work that you're doing. I think to in a real sense, we see it. In Raphael Warnock, though he's running for Senate, you know, his work is still in that local black church.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got to continue to proclaim.
Yeah,
That's all
definitely.
we can do.
And we gotta give grace though. We gotta give grace too. Um.
I think we do it. Honestly, I think we do it. I'm gonna tell you why we do it.
Okay.
Number one, we have no choice because when we talk about the ideology of white supremacy, if you don't give it,
Yeah,
you know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying? Yeah,
I
but
see that, but I disagree that that's grace.
well, what I'm saying is, if you don't show it the way that they want you to, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
There are going to be consequences and repercussions.
Right? No, no, I know that.
But yeah, but I think in the real sense, man, honestly, man, I'm saying that we do in the sense of using this pedagogy of prophetic witness. If you're not using the pedagogy, then come on, man, it's going to be all self-centered, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's why I'm saying it. Using this pedagogy, grace is entrenched in that. I think.
I think so too. My question is, and again, I don't know because I ain't in the field no more. But my
Mm-hmm.
question is because a lot of times what happens is things are in there, but they've been buried. And so we have no relationship to what's in there. It's like, yeah, such and such may be an ingredient of this recipe, but we've been making this recipe so long and we've been enjoying this food so long that we don't even know the ingredients anymore. And as time goes by, what we've done for convenience is we've combined ingredients. So now we got all seasoning, you know? And so rather than having to get all the various seasonings that went into all seasoning, you just buy a can of all seasoning. And so now over time, after there was great care was taken to decide what went into all seasoning. You know what I mean? Great care was taken. And then when people first started using all seasoning, they knew what all seasonings was in there. But over time, you just know you use all seasoning. And so, yeah, this particular spice is still in there. The grace is still in there. But by now, no one knows what they're shaking out. And so, if you don't know what you're shaking out, are you really giving it? And if you don't know you're really giving it, is it really being received?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know you're receiving it, how can you taste and see that the Lord is good?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I agree that it's in there, inherent in what we do, because of what we do, and because of how we came by what we do.
Yeah,
But I wonder, do we even still know what's in the secret sauce?
yeah, yeah, yeah. The issue then becomes self-actualization. What are we doing purposely
Mm-hmm.
to recognize why we are either hitting brick walls of white supremacy, or even why we are doing the work or having the compassion to care for those who are hitting the brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it speaks to what I'm hearing you say, this lack of self actualization, self awareness.
Mm-hmm. Essential mattering, as I would say.
Yes.
Essential mattering. We keep talking about Black Lives Mattering, right? And it's like, but that essential mattering is missing. We got all the tools, to bring back that season example and make it more appropriate, right? Like let's say, you know, Big Mom pass down recipes. You know what I mean? Pass down recipes. Recipe gets passed down. Recipe gets passed down. Recipe gets passed down. You know what I mean? Years, generations. This recipe been in the family. You know what I mean? And again, over time, somebody to cut down on time because his life got more productive and Big Ma was no longer having as much time to be in the kitchen and prepare things the way she used to prepare them, but you want to stay true to the recipe. Over time, somebody had the wise idea of preemptively combining the seasonings.
Hmm.
And that person still knows what's actually in the seasoning. But then over time, you come to this place where you've been combining these seasonings for so long, and maybe you stored up, you got real smart, right? And now instead of combining the seasonings once a year and making your bottle of spice, special rub, whatever, you now thinking ahead because you took some time off, you had some time away, and you used this sabbatical time to, I'm gonna cut down my time tremendously, and I'm gonna make enough to last me years. And again, so now in this one family that is still passing down this tradition, over time, the tradition that you are passing down, no one knows what went into making this. And it's like that's what we've done with the black church, and it's like that's what leaves us beating our head against the wall, right? Because the grace that we give now, like grace is supposed to be sufficient in our weakness, to give us the strength that we need to persevere. However, the grace that we give now allows us to remain in our weakness. Is that grace?
And yeah, Doc, you just took the words out of my mouth.
Because it damn sure ain't efficacious.
No,
But again, you
it's
got,
sabotage.
and so we gotta give grace, I gotta give grace. I gotta learn to give grace. You know what I mean? It's back to Moses, right? And I guess because of my social location and the experience that I've had, and the experience that I examine of our people in conjunction with the experience as relayed in the scriptures of Moses. I guess that's why I kind of look at it this way. Moses gave grace by moving outside the camp, allowing them to beat their head against the wall as much as they wanted. He told them, I'm going to be here for you if you need me. And they came to him from time to time. And he gave them grace. And when they came to him, the fulfillment of the grace he gave them was certainly something that still corrected them. And of course, that meant that they were like, shit, this is why I don't like going to Moses. He gonna always tell me something that I don't want to hear, something that I don't want to do. But it was bad enough for them to go to Moses, so it was bad enough where they were going to listen to Moses at that time. And then after they listened to Moses and that crisis was averted, they went right back to, doing whatever they wanted to do, and he gave them grace. He was like, hey, y'all want to be disobedient? Y'all want to go y'all way? Y'all want to bang y'all head against this wall? Have at it. I'm going to be here. When you come to me, I'm not going to condone your head banging. I'm not going to coddle your head banging. I'm not going to tell you that your head banging was somehow fulfilling. But I'm not going to stay among you continuously reminding you that you banging your heads against the wall. Because y'all know y'all banging your heads against the wall. And I got to understand that y'all know that y'all banging y'all heads against the wall. And I got to accept that that's what y'all want to do. And when your head hurt hard enough, you'll come to me and you'll ask me what I think, and I'll tell you, and you'll go and you'll either do it or you'll go back to banging your head at the wall. So it's like we need to give our people grace, but the problem is, as I see it, most of us are still banging our heads against the wall. So it's like
We don't have the capacity in the real sense.
most of us who are charged to give grace need grace our damn selves. I mean, we all need grace. Let me be clear. We all need grace. You know what I mean? But in terms of what I'm talking about, in specific to the grace that allows for a people to bang their head against the wall, the grace that allows for Paul to continue kicking against the goads.
Yeah.
The Lord didn't stop his foot. The Lord didn't snatch his foot down. The Lord told him it is useless for you to kick against the goads. He decided to stop.
He made the decision. One of the things that we don't talk about in terms of this grace too, because I want to make it practical in this sense. One of the things that you shared earlier is that, by the grace of God and therapy,
Yes,
right?
sir.
You know, and we both, we have talked. Listen, man, I hit you up one time, I'm like, hey, bro, I need. I'm sitting on my balcony crying, doc.
Heck
but,
yeah.
but, and so, but the essence that we could give, you could give me that space because you've given yourself that space, and I can receive the space because I've given myself that space. And whenever you need the space, I can give you the space because by the grace of God, we have chosen to go to therapy and have our own gracious and sacred space to be self actualizing as Black men who have the same vocation, and we have a deep conviction towards white supremacy.
And a deep conviction towards stopping beating our head against the wall.
That's it. That's it, Doc.
That's how we gonna
That's
just
the one.
wrap up
But all
everything
that
you
other
just
stuff.
said. No, no, no. Everything that you just said is, to me, is summarized in giving yourself the grace to stopping beating your head against the wall.
Yeah, man.
Like it's this,
Yeah.
it's a desire that, you know what, I no longer want to. I realize I'm hitting my head against the wall, beating my head against the wall. I no longer want to beat my head against the wall. So I'm gonna go to therapy. I'm gonna start processing this shit so that I can stop beating my head against the wall. And so it's like, when will we give ourselves the grace, right, to stop beating our heads against the wall? To realize that that is what we are doing, beating our head
Yeah.
against the wall. And so that when I say to come full circle, right? When I say about where I'm at, it's like, um, you know, are people listening? I'm realizing, and that's why I say I'm not saying it as a woe is me, ain't nobody listening. I'm saying it as I'm starting to understand that people are still willing to beat their heads against the wall. They don't see that they are. Some of them don't see that they're beating their head against the wall still. They haven't come to realize that yet. And so that means that they need to spend some more time realizing that. And mostly that means continue beating their heads against the wall until they hit it hard enough where they're like, oh shit, I'm bleeding.
Right. Right.
Because you ain't gonna realize it because I'm saying, hey, Jimmy, hey, while you there banging your head, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, hey, Jimmy, you can't even hear me because you're like, boom, boom, boom. But I'm like, Jimmy, if I finally get you to stop, yo, Jimmy, why don't you stop banging your head against the wall? You're like, man, what you talking? Boom, boom, boom. What I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
And so that's my thing. I gotta help myself do, right, is more and more understand and give people grace to hit their, if they still want to hit their head against the wall, they like, I don't want to hit my head against the wall, because we don't give grace the other way either, right? Like people gave Boyce
Fact.
Watkins shit for saying that, he ain't voting for Biden, he ain't voting for
Hmm.
Trump or for Biden, you know what I mean? Like, I ain't vote for neither one of them either, you know what I mean? Like, and people ain't gonna give you the grace to say, you know what, I'm not gonna beat my head against that wall. If you want to keep beating your head against that wall, okay, I'm not going to deny you that right either. You like that headache. I don't. You don't even think of it as a headache, and that is your right. I do. But to give each other the grace um to find out for ourselves if we truly want freedom. Because if we truly want freedom, we'll realize we're hitting our head against the wall. And if you don't realize you're hitting your head against the wall, it's because you don't really want freedom. And that is your right. Just like back on the plantation. If you wanted to stay on Massa's farm, who am I to tell you You may tell me, hey doc, I get a burlap pair of pants every year. I might get some shoes if we lucky. I get some slop every night to eat. Man, if I run out there with you up in them woods, I don't know when I'm gonna eat. That's your right. And it's my right to say, you know what, I'd rather take my chances. And so that's what I mean when I say giving us grace and realizing, that, ain't nobody listening. And the reason they ain't listening is because everybody's still willing to continue down that road that I feel is banging your head against the wall. And I wonder how y'all interpret that. You know what I mean? I wonder how y'all interpret, because, I know those of y'all who listen to this show ain't the ones who's intent on banging your head to the wall. You know what I mean? That's like, I ain't been talking about y'all. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the Negroes that y'all be looking at and be bewildered by like me. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh God.
how do you interpret or how do you resonate with the idea of giving them the grace to continue banging their heads against the walls? And how do you even feel about that as a statement? I'd love to know. Share your comments. Hit us up on Twitter or on Facebook. Let us know what you think. Because I would love to know where you are with that. Because a charge to keep we have, brothers and sisters, a God to glorify, a never dying soul to save and fitted for the sky. We done come a long way. Like I said earlier, we done come a long way going down the wrong way. So let us repent that we might march on till victory is won.